Hey guys, to open up the week, the markets didn't do that great, but some individual stocks did really well. Today, I would like to cover 6 stocks, some of the news, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth than I usually do into some of these tickers as well to just give you some of my most recent thinking or information. All right, so we're going to cover 6 total tickers today. We're going to cover Soundhound, BigBear.ai, SoFi, Rigetti, SEALSQ, and the red hot stock Ondas. We're going to do all of this in about 16 to 18 minutes is my goal. I ask you one thing and one thing only: hit that like button. It helps other people see content like this and it helps keep them informed. Without further ado, let's jump in. So probably the most interesting story of the day is that Elon Musk has filed a lawsuit against Apple, essentially a monopoly going on in the AI world, and XAI isn't able to compete. So this is a lawsuit suing Apple and OpenAI. So definitely some competition with the mega tech companies to get a strong foothold in the AI race. We also have Nvidia earnings coming this week, which is always a great confirmation of the demand for the hardware and the software for Nvidia chips and the AI race and revolution. If we take a look at our quantum watch list, we can see that mostly red, with the most sell-off in QUBT, followed by D-Wave, IonQ, and Rigetti. These stocks have been getting hit pretty hard and are under some major supports, and we'll go into a couple of those. But LAES, SEALSQ, has posted 4 green days in a row and actually had the best gain of the whole quantum watch list. And Google, which on this channel, I made a video not so long ago saying Google was one of the most undervalued Mag 7 stocks. And at that time, it was a $180 stock. And now today, it actually hit $210 a share. So a $30 per share gain. So kind of a delayed earnings move for Google. Looking at the stock heat map, we can see that the concentration in tech movement was Nvidia and Google. Everything else was kind of flat or sold off. Microsoft sold off. Finance as a sector was very red. Health was very red. Consumer non-durable sold off. A lot of sell-off in the wider market. We're going into Nvidia's earnings. The big thing with Nvidia earnings this time around is they're going to be able to hopefully carry forward some of the China revenue, because we know that they had to take a $5 billion write down on their earnings last quarter because the China chip restrictions. So hopefully we see that in this quarter, and maybe we get a beat and raise quarter, and maybe Nvidia can do what it usually does and lift the whole market. Not only will it lift the whole market, but what ends up happening when Nvidia a good earnings is sometimes Nvidia actually sells off, or that good earnings is priced in prior to the earnings. It rarely just explodes after earnings. What's more likely to happen is Nvidia's going to stay flat or maybe go up a few bucks, but the underlying stocks that heavily rely on the AI thesis will have a bigger move. And it's kind of like a shockwave through the market when Nvidia has a good earnings. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's take a look at Rigetti. So I'm going to ask you all, I did see this on the Rigetti subreddit. I monitor a bunch of different news sources and the Reddits of quantum stocks and a bunch of different other things. And I saw this over the weekend. And basically, this is a Department of Defense Air Force contract with a value of $5.8 million awarded to Rigetti. Now, I don't know if this is actually a done deal or a real thing. I'm not familiar with SAM.gov. I don't know if this is a legitimate source, but that seems like it would be a pretty big deal for Rigetti, given their revenue isn't super high. And I would be very curious to hear if they got this Air Force contract, how it would hit their revenues and how it would impact them financially. From a sheerly chart perspective, what I would draw all of your attention to is that if we go back to the 16th, July 16th, when there was the announcement of the 36 qubit chip, we saw this explosion to 1750. And then this yellow line, really, we've seen this hold, right? Where Rigetti has mostly traded above $15. We've dipped under now twice. So we're in this second look under, and we're trading kind of really tight, narrow range in this like 1430 to 1460 range. And there's been many candles and rejections off of 15 in the last few trading days, including when we got the dovish Fed news. I was really hoping this candle was going to be a little bit greener. That way Rigetti would have gotten through 15 and started using 15 as support again. So when I look at some of these quantum stocks, some of these numbers actually do, like in the short term and midterm, do make a difference, because one outcome is Rigetti retakes that critical 15 point. But as we can see when we zoom out, the majority of Rigetti's trading in the year has been under 15. So will it hold this uptrend? So this blue line here, in fact, I'll go ahead and revise this. So really the only uptrend that I think is that I'm looking at is this rally since April, and we're kind of sitting right on that rising support. So will Rigetti pop off of that rising support? Will it get above 15? Will it start using 15 as support? Is there enough going on for Rigetti? I think the big catalyst for Rigetti would be the Air Force contract and their 100 qubit chip. At this point, we saw the market pricing Rigetti at $17.50 and a look above at $18 on the news of and release of the 36 qubit chip. All right, let's take a look at SEALSQ. So SEALSQ released this joint venture in Abu Dhabi with a $100 million local investment target. And this joint venture aims to develop a post-quantum semiconductor personalization and satellite production hub. And you love to see Carlos there. There's a lot of money in Abu Dhabi, of course. And this is a step in the right direction if you are a SEALSQ shareholder, because this stock has been in a brutal downtrend. And this dates back to June 26th, and we're in August 25th. So for almost 2 straight months, SEALSQ has been in a constant downtrend, just really unrelenting. But we can see that in the last few trading days, we're actually on a 4-day green streak for SEALSQ, and it hasn't had a 4-day green streak for a very long time. So perhaps a bullish setup. It's sitting there right on the rising support. The 50, 100, and 200-day moving average, that these are these blue lines, and we've actually claimed the 100-day moving average, and we're trading above, which is a good sign. So what we want to do is reclaim that 200-day moving average, and then things are going to start looking a lot more bullish for SEALSQ. Okay, one of the hottest stocks in the stock market, Ondas. The CEO of Ondas, Eric Brock, just did an interview with Jay's Finance. I didn't have a chance to listen to the whole thing, but I did pull down the transcript and I did create a summary here. I would recommend you go over to Jay's Finance channel and listen to this yourself, but this is a quick summary. So Aaron Brock's a former accountant. He's led Ondas for 8 years. There's leadership style and mentorship. He values flat organizations. He acknowledges dilution fears, but argues Ondas' recent fundraising was accretive, cleaning up the balance sheet, attracting institutions, and enabling strategic growth. Brock clarified that while reported insider ownership looks low, employees have significant incentive compensation and sweat equity. And Ondas aims to be a global defense and security leader within 1 to 5 years in both government and private sectors. Brock downplays recession risk, noting that automation, robotics, and physical AI adoption will continue regardless of macro cycles. So Ondas has been on a tear. They blew past their 52-week average. And if we look back even further, we kind of talked about this, but essentially, I think Ondas is hunting for $8, $10, or $14 a share. And I think this rally could continue as long as our market backdrop stays bullish. All right, so let's take a look at SoFi. And I want to bring up SoFi because look at this profit viz. Like, look at that revenue. Like, this is one stock that I have where I just sleep at night when I have SoFi. Their net income has flipped positive. Operating income has flipped positive. Cost and OPEX is actually decelerating, which is a good thing. You want to see this kind of flattening out. You don't want to see an incline on cost and OPEX. Assets and liabilities, more assets with more liabilities. And SoFi employs 4,400 people. They're now at a market cap of $31 billion and trading at a share price of $26 a share. And if we look at the chart, the significance of this is if we go to the all-time chart, the highest wick touch for SoFi was this 28.05. I think the print was around where we closed today. So we closed at $26 and we have this accelerating parabolic uptrend. I don't know if this is sustainable. What I'm hoping for with SoFi is we have a break above 28.05 and then going forward, maybe it can cool off and just hang out and use 28.05 or maybe 25 as support going forward. And that would be kind of a bullish base case. And now in a bear case, it's going to reject, it's going to come down, and it could maybe even go down and test this 18 again before moving back up. As we can see, that would follow a similar pattern to the stock before. So I wouldn't be surprised to see SoFi sell down. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go up and take 28. All right, let's take a look at BigBear. So BigBear is sitting right on the rising support since April and May. It has just been creeping up. It had a lot of investor enthusiasm going into earnings, a lot of disappointment, and now it's just kind of sitting at this $5.30. And I'm not sure if even BigBear knows where it wants to go from here, the stock. We did see that BigBear and the Washington Commanders, BigBear's now got their logo on the Washington Commanders football field. BigBear's now on their performance center. So this is great, but I like the marketing and outreach as an investor. I like that BigBear is getting their name out there, but where's the one question or no question? In fact, they haven't taken any questions in earnings call for years. So I want more transparency from this company. I don't care so much about these sports partnerships, although I like to see it as an investor for the visibility and the brand. What I want to see is more transparency from the company, and that is going to build up trust for investors. And I still think that BigBear is in a spot where it could break down and it could move down. Just because it's had this enthusiasm, investors have shown that they're willing to sell this off. This did get sold off to like $4.50 or whatever that was this last month. You could have a couple things. If we break down below this rising support, we have a lot of price history at this $5. I think you could fill the gap down to the fours, 420, 452. So I think in a base case, I actually see BigBear going down or chopping sideways. In a bull case, I see it having some catalyst that pushes it back up into that 7 range. And then I hope we can kind of just chop. In a very bearish case, and everyone needs to be prepared for this, it's in BigBear, it could go down, reject off 487, and come back down to the high 3s, low 3s. So that's just the nature of BigBear. They have not proven themselves yet. Their earnings were really bad and they diluted right after. So I don't think people are super happy with BigBear, but there's still obviously a lot of potential in the name. I'm still bullish long-term and still hold all my shares. All right, and last stock is Soundhound. So Soundhound has been really unfairly kind of beaten up. So maybe it was overstretched. In fact, it definitely was overstretched here at 22.25 a share. Then it had this sharp sell-off down to like $6. And now it's kind of holding this uptrend. It had this breakout up to almost 18 a share, maybe 17 a share. And now it's cooled off significantly and it's pulled back and it's down near this rising support. I think there's more to come for Soundhound. They had really good numbers. They had a reported revenue that was 10 million higher than the estimate. And I think Soundhound is a growing company. All right, guys. So we did it. We did 6 stocks in less than 18 minutes, and we went a little deeper than I usually go. So I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. If you'd like to support the YouTube channel and the website, I do offer memberships starting at $4.99 a month. Your support really helps. If you head over and check out the membership levels, there's a Quantum Bull at $4.99 a month, the Golden Bull at $14.99 a month. And if you check out our Discord, it is really fun. We talk about a lot of different things, and we have specific channels for specific stocks. You get an alert in our video drops channel for every members video and non-members video. I highly recommend joining if you want to, and if you're able. We'll see you in the next one.